La Casa 5 is the unofficial fifth entry in the Evil Dead series, known as Beyond Darkness. Beyond Darkness is a 1990 horror film from Clyde Anderson, which is a pseudonym for famous Italian exploitation director Claudio Fragasso. The movie opens at the Louisiana State Penitentiary. A priest is coming to deliver the last rites to an inmate on death row. I like how the visiting room has such a lovely font, and right next to it is Death Row. Are you here to visit an inmate, or are you here to see them die? He's walking through death row. You think they would have had these bars closed already. Father Frownyface asks the woman for her confession. Between the pancake makeup, obvious contact lenses, and cheap rubber skull cap, this is a movie that never expected something called HD. The old woman murdered a bunch of children and tells the priest she's taken their souls with her to hell. Father George tries to get her to tell him why she killed all those kids. She gives him the devil's Bible, and the guards haul her off to the electric chair. He sees her walking down the hall, now surrounded by the kids she murdered. Does she say what I think she says?
I want you to witness my last orgasm.
Ew. He walks out of the room and, well, they don't waste any time. They burn the wig right off of her. He opens the book and sees the god that's been trying to get out of Alessa. Father George realizes she did indeed take the kids to hell with her. We want to watch Lazy Town. Cut to Father Peter and his family moving into a new house.
Oh, it's so big.
They wander around and see somebody already furnished it. For some reason, there's a giant black swan in the room. Martin accidentally drops his father's Bible in the mud. Oh no, where will he ever be able to get another copy? They're so rare. Carol wanders around the house until she finds a glory hole. This is not appropriate for kids. Later that night, Annie's serving dinner and completely blows her line.
Made a mess of the eggs.
Better watch out, Martin's known for pissing on hospitality. I think Father Peter forgot his line too.
Dear Lord, thank you for the food that you have and the beautiful new house.
They're trying to pass this place off as a newly built house.
Mom, is it true that we're the first family to live in this place?
Huh?
The scuffed hardwood floors, the peeling paint, the dust and dirt everywhere. Yep, brand new. That night, Annie fixed Peter's Bible by ironing it. Over in the kids' room, ew, they're doing it again. I guess he's thanking her for ironing his Bible. The wind blows into the room and tears all the pages out of the Bible. Good grief, just close the window! With all the pages gone, all that's left is a picture of Baphomet and some dramatic music. Over in town, Father George has developed a drinking problem. He's wandering around telling random strangers about the devil. He sits in front of a store and a bunch of kids surround him. The kids get called away by, oh no, it's the evil woman! And she's got hair! The bus drives away and he half-heartedly chases after it. Oh no, I spilled my booze. Meanwhile, Carol wakes up surrounded by a bunch of women in black. Ziploc children-sized containers to seal in freshness. It was all just a nightmare, of course, sent by the gassy hole in the wall. Her parents find her with Smucker's strawberry jam smeared on her face. Peter gets a call from the Reverend. He tells him he needs to give him some information in person. Just then, Father George shows up and leaves. That night they're having dinner and the radio turns on, so he turns it off. It turns on again, so he unplugs it. Oh shit! Now would be a good time to get in the car and get the fuck out! Leave the house! The movie shares at least one thing in common with the Evil Dead. Flying cutlery. They go upstairs and fuck! The women in black all pour into the house, so Peter pulls out his trusty Bible. When did he get a new Bible? He says some prayers and brings forth the evil wall spirit. He says a few more things and they go away. Okay, honey, I know dozens of ghost women were in the house and a demon was trying to come through your wall, but it's still past your bedtime, so you better go to sleep. Keep in mind, this is 30 minutes into the film. They actually stuck around after this. The next day, Peter goes to talk to the Reverend. Turns out the Reverend knows something's wrong with the house. They picked the noisiest place to film.
He's broken, infected. Don't let him ruin you.
To drive him away.
But I am not alone.
The Reverend tells Peter he picked him to live in the house so he could exorcise the demons out. Thanks for letting me bring my whole family into a possessed house, Rev. Peter calls Annie, who tells him that Carol has a fever so they can't leave. What? Father George finds Peter to help him fight the demons. Even with all the stuff Peter saw, he still doesn't believe him. Peter goes home. Geez, I'm gone all day, they couldn't even clean up this mess. Annie rushes in and nearly kills him before she realizes who it is. Dad! Sure is a good thing Mom didn't kill you. Hey! Isn't she supposed to be bedridden with a fever, which is why they couldn't leave? The demons are back, so they go downstairs. Oh, calm down. One of them is just taking a really hot shower. They try to leave, but the women block the exit. Is that Darth Maul or Insidious guy? Martin gets grabbed by Mr. Clean and vanishes. They search the house, and Carol tells him he's in the wall. Young man, you get out of that wall this instant! George shows up to help. He tells him the house is a gateway to hell because it was built on the graves of witches who were burned at the stake, and this is almost the story of Poltergeist. They search the house like they're going to find Martin hiding in a closet or something. Annie sees Martin in a mirror and goes after him, only to see him being taken away by a hearse. The wall's melting, so Peter goes inside to rescue Annie and Martin. He finds them and gets out. Well, that was anticlimactic. Now they finally leave, but they see Martin still in the house, and the Martin they have is Evil Martin. George, bad touch. Evil Martin kidnaps Carol and tries to take her through the portal. Annie saves her, and Peter gets her to leave while he and George stay behind to exorcise the demons. Annie goes to confront the Reverend. Is Annie possessed? Carol stays with the Reverend, and Annie goes back to the house. Back at the house, the exorcism begins. Okay, it switched from ripping off Poltergeist to ripping off The Exorcist. George is really hamming it up here. They drive the demon out of Martin, but it's still in the house. Peter and Martin leave, and George stays behind. Only Martin still isn't Martin, and Play-Doh Face knocks Peter down the stairs. Somehow, now Martin's in the electric chair. Did the music budget just run out? The witch tries to trick George, but he burns her with holy water. He frees Martin, but it's a trick to put him in the chair. She fries him, which unleashes his inner demon. Peter finds George and manages to save his soul before he dies. Annie goes to find Peter, and it looks like he burned the meatloaf again. She goes into the hole and finds all the witches hanging around Martin. Oh no, now Peter's possessed. They try to get her to sacrifice Martin with this cross dagger, but somehow the Reverend tells them to resist and she stabs the witch. Look, we blew our whole prop budget on this dagger, so let's get plenty of shots of it. They kill the witch, and in turn, it kills the Reverend. A completely different house then burns down. Seriously, this is the house they were living in, and this is the one that burned down. As they drive away, Annie says something you should never say in a horror film.
It's finally over.
Of course it's not over. As I said in the beginning, this was the 5th movie in the La Casa series, which is The Evil Dead outside the US. Although here's where it gets more confusing. Beyond Darkness is the last in the official-unofficial La Casa series, but they picked up 2 more unrelated films to distribute under the La Casa franchise, House 2 and The Horror Show. La Casa in Spanish means the house, so the movie House 2 is now House 6 in foreign markets, the 5th sequel in the Evil Dead series that doesn't include Army of Darkness. The Horror Show was distributed as both House 3 and La Casa 7 in the non-US market. Then when producer Sean S. Cunningham made a real House 3, it was distributed as House 4. While director Claudio Fragasso has written and directed numerous movies, he's most well known for the movie that's often cited as the best-worst movie ever made, Troll 2. Michael Stevenson played Martin in Beyond Darkness, and Fragasso brought him back to play Joshua in Troll 2, a movie series that also has numbering issues. The movie has a few more exploitation ties. It was produced by exploitation director Joe D'Amato, who shot close to 200 films, everything from Bio Omega to The Blade Master. The costume designs were by Laura Gemser, an actress who was in numerous films in the Emmanuelle knockoff series, Emmanuelle, sometimes known as Black Emmanuelle. She was also in Quest for the Mighty Sword, which is also known as Ator 4, The Hobgoblin, Troll 3, and Ator 3. Beyond Darkness is a silly and surprisingly scary film. If I had seen this when I was young, it probably would have scared me to death. Although I will admit, there were a few times when I still jumped. The effective use of the witches in black and the demon leader pop up at just the right times. Beyond Darkness rips off everything from Poltergeist to The Exorcist, but it still winds up being entertaining. Not nearly as entertaining as Troll 2, but very few movies are.
Oh, and my kids love beans, right, guys?
I love beans. But then you make stinkies.